I haven't heard much talk about that. I think we mentioned it once with maybe Perk. That was quizzical at best, especially when you're just getting eaten up on defense, and we were all praising Willie Gay during preseason. So that was quizzical. I'm glad that he has acknowledged he needs to be out there.
First off, the first offensive side is easy, where he said he can't throw outside. We pack the paint. Nobody spoke on packing the paint because that's been said before, that everything's across the middle for Tua. He never throws outside routes. And we've talked about it this week. The Anthony Weaver, when I saw that, that's weird for you not to, like, we're not talking about 600 guys. You have about 20 dudes defensively, probably 15 to 20 guys that you're going to play on defense. And you forget that Willie Gay's on the sideline with you. That was the one. The offensive stuff I can let go. Anthony Weaver saying that he said he apologized. He's right there. You played him all preseason, and now you forget that he's on your roster. That was crazy to me.
Who was it last year? Remember Jalen Ramsey? Was it Storm Duck on the other side who was getting burned up and down, and Jalen Ramsey?
Kader Kohu.
Who was the receiver that was eating them alive?
Stephon Diggs was one of them that we're going to see this Sunday.
We're about to see Sunday.
But they never moved him. They never moved Ramsey over to him. Like, sometimes they just get stubborn. Spo does that with the Heat sometimes. You just get stubborn. I don't know why.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. Don't bring Eric Spoelstra into this. What's going on there?
He's the most stubborn coach of all the coaches in South Florida. He's the most stubborn coach.
Yeah, he also has 2 titles to his name and a couple NBA Finals appearances. But no joke, that was 2 years ago. Remember the Dolphins going to Buffalo on the road, and that was before we had Jalen Ramsey. It was Xavier Howard who, for whatever reason, Vic Fangio wouldn't move Xavier Howard onto Stephon Diggs, and the Dolphins are down like 30 points. And after the game, X is like, "Yeah, I want to cover the best wide receiver," and Vic Fangio. Fell asleep in his post-game press conference and then gave you some runaround about why he didn't do it. But, yeah, I mean, it seems pretty obvious at one point. Like, put your best cornerback on their best receiver.
Or different ones. It doesn't even have to be best. But if nothing's working, put different people out there. Just get anybody different out there.
And you say Jalen Ramsey. I don't know if I said earlier. Did y'all see Jalen Ramsey can still play football? Did y'all watch that game?
He made one. I'm sorry. He made 2 really good plays at the end, Crowder, but he did not grade out fantastically. And I saw a couple of plays of him.
The hell with your PFFs and PFTs.
Okay.
He was guarding Garrett Wilson all over the field, running with him, moving with him, and Garrett didn't go. Garrett is an amazing receiver. He punked Garrett Wilson for 4 quarters.
I mean, we're not going to do the thing of, hey, we wouldn't like to have Jalen Ramsey in the secondary, are we?
So, what did he grade out at? Because I want to hear Jack Jones grade.
Because I'm just saying, I'm crediting Jalen Ramsey. I said it yesterday on Monday. It burns even more to watch Jalen Ramsey make a game-winning play. And prior to him lighting up Garrett Wilson, he had another play right before that he made an impact and he forced an incompletion. But we're not going to sit here and say he punked Garrett Wilson, who finished with 7 receptions, 95 yards, and a touchdown. Like, he didn't punk Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson got the better of Jalen Ramsey at times, and Jalen Ramsey came up with the game-winning play, which is what you want. Guys to make game-winning plays. I'm with you, Crowder. But Jalen Ramsey didn't punk anybody that game.
We want to win games, or we don't want to win games?
That's a different conversation, though. That's a different conversation.
Come on. Jalen Ramsey he would be the best player on our defense as we sit here today. It might be Minka and then Jalen.
Oh, I don't think there's a debate on that. Zach Sealer, who would you go?
No,
I mean,
come on. Jalen Ramsey would be 1 or 2 on our defense best at his job.
But that to me is more of an indictment on the state of the Miami Dolphins defense.
Sure.
And a lack of talent on the Miami Dolphins defense than it is about Jalen Ramsey. Crowder, you would agree. Jalen Ramsey, he's great in spurts at this point of his career. He's at the back end of his career. Like, last season, he was not the most consistent player on the Dolphins defense, and it showed. There were mistakes from Jalen Ramsey a year ago.
And it was something else because we got a Jalen Ramsey. I've told the story where we're playing the Saints, and I'm supposed to cover the running back. Like, they're just names. linebacker on running back, strong safety on tight end, corner on receiver on X and Z. And Reggie Bush runs out the backfield. And I look back at Jeremiah Bell and I'm like, YB, this is a mismatch. There's no way I'm covering. This is Reggie Bush, New Orleans, like prime Reggie. I can't cover him. I look back at YB. YB just nods at me. He runs over there. I run and cover Jeremy Shockey. Jeremy Shockey was good, but he's not. It's a better chance for me to cover Jeremy Shockey than cover Reggie Bush. Why can't that happen? Like, I don't know if the guys are communicating or if they're giving them that freedom, but I remember us doing that all the time where Zach would, Zach's not a big dude. We have a big, like, bully tight end.
Communicating. And Bradley Chubb said they were all running around doing whatever they wanted to do.
But, like, we'd have a bully tight end, and Zach would be like, no, play Mike, I'll play Will. And I go over there and play Mike because we know he's not running any routes, but I can fight him better than Zach could fight him, and Zach could run backside. Like this, it's not. It's intricacies of the NFL defenses, but it's human beings talking to each other. At some point, somebody says, "Hey, man, dude, eating your ass up, man. I'm gonna come over there and do something." Sam Madison would do it all the time. 10 on 10. Hey.
Well, I think they were all saying that to each other all game long. Just no one had an answer. Like, well, now he's eating my ass up. Hey, you want him to eat your ass up?
But Crowder, in the first half, though, and I'm speaking strictly in the first half. This game was 17-0. At one point in the first half, it ended 20-0. Right? Tua throws the interception. Indy takes over at their own 45. So they're at half field already. And then Tua fumbles the ball. Indy takes over at Miami's 45. So they've already passed half field. And then
the offense did the defense no favors.
Right. And then the defense this was finally gets to stop. Finally gets to stop. And guess what? You have Matthew Judon roughing the kicker penalty, automatic first down. That gives them 15 yards, by the way, after they finally got to stop. And then they went and they scored another touchdown. Like, I mean, the defense is already in a position where they're playing from behind. We know that. Lack of talent and lack of bodies. Then you lose Storm Duck. You have to do everything you can not to kill them. And the Dolphins' offense and special teams did the complete opposite. Put them in horrible positions to succeed.
I said it. Anthony Weaver has to do the best job this week figuring out zones and how to confuse Drake May. Because if Drake May catches them in man-to-man, it's going to get ugly with Stephon Diggs in them. And can you please say midfield and not half field? I don't know if it's a soccer term, but yeah, that half field throws me off.
No, half field. That's the
no one calls it half field. It's called midfield.
Half field line. Hawk, can I get a ruling on this? You're a half field guy too, right? Half field.
It's so midfield. I don't know what you're doing there.
I
wish I could support you, but then I've never heard half field.
You had a great point. That's why I didn't cut you off, but I can't do half field.
I've heard of the Hatfields and McCoys, but only Len has heard of them as well, and that's just based on age. Sports Talk on WQAM is sponsored by Paramount Plus. You can't count on much, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Stream your local NFL game live every Sunday, all season long, starting at just $30 for your first year. That's like $250 a month. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. So that brings me to my question. We just torched the Dolphins for 14 minutes here to start the show. They are 1-point favorites Sunday over New England. Which side are you betting?
Pats. I got to see it. I have to see it. I like to see what I'm betting on, and I didn't see anything in the Colts game.
Solana?
I'm going to bet the Dolphins. I'm going to put it in.
So
I am not at the point yet. I was on a podcast yesterday, Finn's Faithful, and they're like, "Are you at the breaking point yet?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not there yet." They lose this game to Drake May and a Patriots team that looked very underwhelming against the Raiders, and it's bad. Then yeah, I mean, they might not win a game this season. I'm not there yet.
It feels like it has Dolphins win written all over it, doesn't it?
Why?
I mean, everything that we've said.
No.
There's no reason. There's literally, that's why I'm very interested to hear Rob Pizzola in the 4:00 hour today, because he loves analytics. He loves, game situations and looking at the intricacies of what happened numbers wise. And I'm curious if he just says, yeah, I'm taking the Dolphins at home against an underwhelming New England team. Dolphins team, he talks a lot about recency bias. It was so bad because what should they be like? What would you have made this line before the season started?
Ooh, at home, probably same thing, right around there, 2-3. Dolphins though.
Right. I probably had like Dolphins 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And it's down to Dolphins -1. And that's because of what you saw Sunday, understandably, by the way. But Pizzola's always like, hey, you fall into recency bias and you forget that what you just saw recently is not always indicative of what you're going to continue to see. I'm just curious what he has to say, because there's no person in their right mind who watched the Dolphins game Sunday and would give them any chance of beating any NFL team this season, right? I mean, based on what you saw Sunday, you'd say they can't win an NFL game.
No, they need to practice against the Bethune-Cookman and see what happens.
Which is why I just think this has Dolphins victory written all over it Sunday. Just because sometimes when you can't figure out why something's going to happen, it just does.
Vegas is so smart. The over-under is 43.
They're
40,
smart.
But Hawk, 43 over-under.
I feel like it was 45 or 46 when the game opened. I saw that this morning too. But now what are you going to do at 43? Can't bet the under.
I was going to say bet the under because we're scoring 8. They're scoring 17. We got action, but 43 is a low number.
How about this? Fantasy football reports on WQAM are sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka. Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. Distilled 6 times till it's just right. Tito's is known for great vodka, giving back, and doing good for dogs. Distilled and bottled by 5th Generation Inc., Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume. Savor responsibly. Just based on what I was saying, where sometimes you don't expect things to happen after what you just watched, was reading for you fantasy football players who have Dolphins on your rosters. A lot of people just like having some of the local guys on their rosters. I was reading a story from fantasylife.com, and the writer says, we need to have a tough conversation about the Miami Dolphins this week. They looked like an absolute dumpster fire in week 1. They got blown out, generated 211 yards on offense, and somehow ran only 46 offensive plays. Outside of Devon Achane, who they still have ranked as a top 10 running back to play, that's the only one they write. There's not a single fantasy manager who is excited to start any of the other Dolphins in week 2. To make matters worse, they'll be without 2 key offensive linemen, Austin Jackson and James Daniel, as well as Darren Waller, who seems like he's closer to retirement than a football field. Here comes the but, though. And again, this is fantasylife.com. But they are home versus the Patriots this week, who somehow might even be a bigger dumpster fire. The odds makers agree because Miami is currently a 1.5-point favorite. They are implied to score 22.5 points, the same as the Chiefs, Texans, Broncos, and Commanders. This New England secondary just gave up 362 passing yards to Geno Smith in the rain, and the Patriots have historically struggled when traveling to Miami early in the season. So they write, I know it seems unfathomable to play Dolphins after throwing up on themselves in week 1, but the author writes, I'll be playing some Miami stacks in DFS this week and plugging my nose and starting Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill in my leagues where I don't have better options. So, and again, I know that's fantasy stuff, but it just kind of falls in my line of thinking of where you go recency bias. We watched the Dolphins, and we probably just watched some highlights of the New England game. Now, I'm imagining if people watch the New England game, they may be going, wow, this team is terrible.
And something else you brought up, aberration or trend. You know, like, was that game just a bad off? Like, that's what, unprepared, whatever it was. Why were you unprepared week 1? All the things we've talked to people about and asked guys about. And that's where I'm stuck in the middle. Is this team terrible? Because you don't lose by 25 to the Colts. Are you terrible or were you unprepared? I think that's what you have to decide going into week 2.
I'm in multiple leagues. I drafted Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in almost every league because I thought people were sleeping on these guys. And I said,
Yep.
hold on a second. Like, they're going to be fine offensively. They're going to put up points. And Hoch, for this week, first of all, Jalen Waddle's on the injury report. And it's not looking great for him to play. Hopefully he does. I'm not starting Waddle in any league. I'm just not. I'm not buying that. Tua wasn't even looking his way. And I'll start Tyreek Hill until the wheels totally come off because it's Tyreek Hill. But it's hard to look at those numbers where he hasn't caught a 30 or more yard play in over a year and still consider him, from a fantasy perspective, a big-time player to start weekly.
But in other words, all the stuff that's being talked about this week, Frank Smith knows that. Tua knows it. Mike McDaniel knows it. Tyreek knows it. Tyreek knows it's his 1-year anniversary of not catching a 30-plus yard pass. So I kind of think, hey, if you think New England is bad, and again, they point out in that Fantasy Life article, they gave up 300-plus yards or 200-plus yards to Geno Smith passing in the rain. If you think, okay, Tua and Tyreek and Jalen can still do that, and I'm not certain Jalen's not looking good he was just on the injury report yesterday, so to say he's not looking good for Sunday, I'm not certain, because he came back in the game just fine last Sunday. I would say he's more, to me, looking better to play than not play at all. Just my opinion. It's not based on anything. If the yards aren't going to Tua, and you imagine there have to be some yards passing, they got to end up with Jalen. It ain't going to be Darren Waller. It ain't going to be Alec Ingold. Maybe D. Eskridge. I don't know. But yeah, again, I'm not telling you if you've got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill in your fantasy league, slam dunk win for you. But I could see they're going to have a big game at some point this season. Maybe it'll be against the New England defense.
But your logic is, hey, they know everything that went wrong and they know what the narratives are against them and they have to lock in. But I get what you're saying and you're right, but that should have been the logic going into week 1. Everybody was doubting Tyreek Hill.
Then why are you betting them? You said you're betting the Dolphins. What's your logic? That is the logic.
My logic is that at some point they're going to have to figure it out. And I'm with you.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
I'm glad you brought that up. Like you're saying, was that an aberration or is that what we expect for the season? I don't think they're going to score 8 points all season. But Mike Cunio said something that made me think. Did Mike McDaniel get figured out? And then I go back to what OG says. There's no plan B. And then we get into week 1 and he scores 8 points and takes 55 game minutes to score with a halfback swing pass on 4th and 11. Have they figured it out? And then Xavier Howard put the bow on the present. We packed the box. Tua is not throwing outside. You beat him. And he throws 2 interceptions over the middle. Can Mike McDaniel change his entire passing game? They only tried to run the ball, 10 times, 11 times on Sunday? They
only had 46 plays.
Can he run? Can he adjust to that run, or can he throw outside routes? Because Xavier Howard told you their game plan, and then he only ran the ball 11 times. I think Tua it's like 12 rushes, but there were scrambles. Can he change in the week? Because he had 4 or 5 months in the offseason to change, and obviously he didn't. And Xavier Howard went to Indianapolis on a Tuesday, told him exactly what Tua can do, and whooped him on Sunday. They got 200 yards of offense. That's embarrassing.